Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our weekly live question and answer series. You're joining us here at Tustin Longevity Center. My name is Talon Ellithorpe. I am the practice manager, and I am here with Dr. Rita Ellithorpe, our medical director and founder. So what we love to do here is make this an interactive event, and we want to hear from you in the audience what questions you have for the physician. You can post those questions over here in the chat section. You do have to be logged into YouTube to do that, so make sure you're logged in and go ahead and start posting there, and I will be monitoring those questions and I will pass those questions along to the doctor. You can also email your questions into us during the week, and I will bring those questions with me on the following episode. Our email address is office@tlcdoctors.com. Send that in with something in the subject along the lines of Q&A, questions for YouTube, and I'll be sure to bring those with me. And last thing, just want to mention that this is for education purposes, and this is not meant to replace your relationship with your physician. So please do follow up with these specific questions with a doctor. Maintain that relationship. Of course, we're happy to become your physician if you are in the area here in Southern California. Doctor, thanks for joining us again today.
Always a pleasure, and some exciting news today.
What's that news?
Well, we have another retraction,
Okay.
and I think I'll get to that first. So let me get my articles here. I was going over the news, and I was reading Human Events for the 18th of June, and it reported in Human Events that in February of 2020, and we reported on this when that happened, the 27 public health experts co-authored a correspondence in The Lancet. This is a statement in support of the scientists, public health professionals, and medical professionals of China combating COVID-19. And in it, they declared no competing interests, conflicting in financial interests. And so I looked at 3 articles on this, and so I went back to my original article on Lancet last year that I went over last March with you, with us together, and that's this one right here. And indeed, I had marked out that it said, "We stand together strongly condemning conspiracy theories suggesting that COVID-19 does not have a natural origin." And it went to say, "We support the call from the Director General of the WHO to promote scientific evidence and unity over misinformation and conjecture." So this was published March 7th, 2020 in The Lancet, all right? So then the new Lancet has put in an addendum, a retraction. And this came out June 21st, 2021. Editors from The Lancet, entitled Addendum, Competing Interests and the Origins of SARS-CoV-2. So this is the 3rd retraction. I've never seen so many retractions in the most reputable medical journals in the history of my 40 years of practicing medicine, where they state in February 2020, 27 public health experts co-authored a correspondence in The Lancet, quote, "statement in support of the scientists, public health professionals, and medical professionals," and they declared no competing interests. And then they identify Peter Daszak, who is the owner and runs EcoHealth, a nonprofit organization, but gets funding for this work from a range of U.S. government funding agencies and non-government funding agencies. And in it, the retraction goes on. Basically, it's 3 paragraphs, basically saying Peter Daszak's remuneration is paid solely from a salary from EcoHealth, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And it just goes on ad nauseum about all the people who are supporting EcoHealth, period. It doesn't reference any of the ethical factor that the challenges that are being pointed out to the finding that it is possibly not from the wet market, but rather from the lab itself. So I wanted to bring that out. So there was a lot of brouhaha over that. And so Lancet had to retract again. To update things, June 18th from the Children's Health Defense, that's the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And it says, latest CDC VAERS data for the 12 to 17-year-olds includes 7 deaths. It's more now since the 18th, 271 serious adverse events following COVID vaccinations. In all age groups following COVID vaccinations, there have been adverse events, 358,379, including 6,000 deaths. Of these events, 29,871 were serious, like anaphylactic shocks. So that's kind of like the update on that situation. So we've got a retraction yet again. We have financial competing interests in Peter Daszak, the scientist, regarding the mRNA vaccination development. And then finally, I have the American Journal of Therapeutics for May 23-21 put out a publication called Ivermectin for Prevention and Treatment of COVID-19 Infection, a Systematic Review, Meta-Analysis, and Trial Sequential Analysis to Inform Clinical Guidelines. This is done by Dr. Andrew Bryant and many others listed here. Basically, the outcome of this is finding that ivermectin treatment in COVID-19 provides a significant survival benefit. So this is a meta-analysis. They had 24 studies in review, and when you have a meta-analysis, they only take random controlled trials. That's one of the highest type of trial. When you have many randomized controlled trials, we call it a meta-analysis, retrospective meta-analysis. And when all those have a factor of confidence interval showing the benefit of the interventional agents such as ivermectin. So you go through one after another. We'll show you this line, and if everything to the right of this or the left as you read it is on the side, it's showing it statistically is a result of the impact. If it crosses the line, then it's not confident, okay? And so we have study after study after study on this, showing that. So I thought that that was exciting. It's right here. I forgot to shut my phone off. Sorry. So anyway, this is from the American Journal of Therapeutics, ivermectin for prevention and treatment of COVID-19. And so I was able to look at trial after trial after trial with all the confidence intervals left of the unity line. And it was quite encouraging, both for treatment, both for prevention, and both for hospital management. So we have another wonderful meta-analysis. We have some concerns about the children getting this. We have the third retraction. Now, a bit of good news is interesting. The World Health Organization just came out yesterday, June 22nd, stating children should not be vaccinated for the moment. So it looks like they're starting to see this signal finally of all these deaths and injuries. So this was published again in the Children's Health Defense, and the author is from June 22nd, 21, Megan Redshaw. So that's encouraging that they're putting a hold to that. And I guess that's kind of the exciting news.
Okay, thanks for those updates.
Mm-hmm.
We have some questions coming in here in the chat, and the first one is from Nadine, who asks, What are your recommendations on doing keto without a gallbladder? I'm having trouble digesting fats.
Well, there are many people who have had a cholecystectomy, their gallbladder removed, and they can use a orthodigestive enzyme that has the bile acids in it that help emulsify the fats. So if you're using a high quality digestive enzyme, the higher fat content of your diet, which a keto diet is solved easily. So I would recommend that Nadine use orthodigeszyme. We also have Spectrazyme here, and follow the instructions on the bottle. Whenever you eat food or within an hour or so after eating, take 1 to 3 or 4. I take 4 or 5 after I eat because I'm on a very high fat menu with my carnivore type diet.
How many are you taking?
I'll take 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah. At my age, I'm not digesting like I should, even though I'm not an A-type blood person. A's as a class don't digest as well normally, and that will put them at a disadvantage in breaking down fats and proteins lifelong.
Yeah.
Not all A's are equal. Some are worse than others. But the recommendation on the bottle is 2 with every meal. But there are some who only need 1 who are A-type blood. Some might need 3 or 4, okay? Now that I'm all approaching 70, I, as a B-positive blood, I'll easily take 4 or 5 with any meal I eat. Just so I don't have that bloating, and so I have normal bowel movements, and the quality, the satiation I get from eating depends on me digesting it as well. Right. So I feel very satisfied after my eating with that much enzyme. I never used to use it until I was around 10 years ago when I was in my late 50s, you know. So there you have it. Now, an interesting thing I was thinking about, I've been listening and reading so many articles on COVID-19, it's on my mind a lot. I'm wondering if most of the people who are having adverse reactions to the COVID are blood type A people. I really think that should be looked at because as a general class, they don't have enough enzymes, neither digestive nor systemic. And so if A-type blood people then are taking something that will possibly have a lot of cytokine storm and debris particulate matter, and they don't have the enzymes to clear it, they would be more, so to say, dusty, dirty inside and not clearing as well. So I would really recommend systemic enzymes for anyone after getting the vaccination. Vitalzyme, I would take 4 or 5, 3 times a day on an empty stomach until they're very many days past the vaccination to stop the inflammatory impact. And of course, number 1, I bet you most of them don't drink enough water as well. So just an aside, I'm thinking about the enzymes and the poor side effects that we read in the news that we reported on.
Okay. All right, Nadine. Hope that answers your question. Enzymes are what you want, digestive enzymes when you eat. Next question comes to us from Robert, who asks, when do you use benofomine versus thiamine? They're both vitamin B1. What's the difference?
I'm not familiar. I'll have to say.
I've never heard of benofomine.
Yeah.
Thiamine, yes.
Yeah, thiamine, yes. I've never heard of a variant of vitamin B1 as well. So I'll have to look into that, Robert. That'll be interesting. So save that for me. In fact, I'll make a note on the variants of vitamin B1.
Benofomine.
So you see, when this is live and when you put yourself out there to try and answer any question, obviously there's going to come a question that I'm not familiar with. And I'm not going to be afraid to sit here and admit to that, but I learned from my patients. So now I have something else that I'm going to look into.
Yeah. Just off the top of my head, I wonder if this isn't one of those like trademarked forms of something where they take a nutrient and then they put it in what is in a patented form that is supposed to be more bioavailable.
How do you spell that, Talon?
He spells it Benofomine. Benofomine. No, didn't pull anything up. on Google. Interesting.
And this is just without the E.
Yeah. No, you could try, did you mean that? Click on benofilament. No, right where it says, did you mean? Click that. Let's see if anything comes up. There we go.
All right.
So no E at the end. High blood sugar? Okay, we'll have to look into that because that's not pulling anything up there. Okay. Next question is from Lisa, and Lisa asks, what combination of Juice Plus do you take daily? Well, I can answer that for the doctor. She takes the fruits, the vegetables, and the vineyard. So the red capsules, the green capsules, and the purples, 2 of each a day, so a total of 6. And that's what we recommend for most adults. The fruits and the vegetables, also known as the orchard and the garden, were the original Juice Plus. And then they later added on the vineyard after some compelling research was showing the high antioxidant properties of some of the berries, and of course things like what is that thing that's touted to be in wine and why you should drink red wine? Resveratrol, right, exactly. So yes, if you're taking the full dose of Juice Plus, reds, greens, and purples, 2 of each a day, and that's what we recommend to most adults, and then you're getting over how many fruits and vegetables that are 30 different fruits and vegetables concentrated without the sugar, the fruit sugars taken out.
Or the lectins.
Yeah. Right.
And I take mine now in the evening. I've made a shift, and it's been about 2 months. I feel good all the time, so it's hard for me to say whether or not I am better.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to stay that way. I follow the science, and that's why I use Juice Plus. There just simply isn't anything out there with as much evidence-based medicine supporting its multi-dimensional benefit to anti-aging and health.
Yeah, and on the note of Juice Plus, it really is in a different category, isn't it, than vitamins or multivitamins, because this is a whole food. Yeah. They don't. There's very minimal processing done in a very cold, dark environment so that those antioxidants are maintained.
Right.
We're not talking about we're guessing and picking and choosing a couple vitamins to put in a pill, which that's supplementation, and there's a place for that, and we can recommend great supplements. But there's something to be said about the numerous things inside of it, a fruit or a plant that we don't even have names for yet, and the synergy of them working together.
Right. We ought not to think more of ourselves than we should, the Bible says. And in science, if we think we know everything that's in an apple or an orange or a grape or a pomegranate or a beet, we're fooling ourselves. We do not understand all those things, but God does. So by using these Juice Plus series, I'm solving the diabetic and the pre-diabetic metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance problems. As a carnivore now, I'm solving all my fruit and vegetable needs. So I'm just feeling wonderful.
Great. Okay. All right, that's it for the online chat questions. I'll keep my eye on those and see if anything else comes in. We had a few questions come in via email. I have a question from Hetty that asks, what could be used to get rid of or lessen a constant burning pain associated with COVID-19? It can be described as a sunburn all over the body, especially on the back and chest. Is that ringing a bell?
Yeah, that's like a neuropathy. And that's well defined in the symptomology of post-COVID, or what we call the long haulers syndrome. And there is a FLCCC.org or .com protocol for now we doctors who are trying to think outside of the box just to help our patients with safe and effective items that are available and have been researched for safety. For instance, Ivermectin got the Nobel Prize in 2015 as one of the most valuable, impactful medicines for world health. But Ivermectin is one of the protocols where you would use this daily for 5 days and then taper to twice a week and then taper down to once a week usage, along with using items such as anti-inflammatory benefits. They recommend atrovastin 40 milligrams a day. I don't think I'll use that. I'll rather use my systemic enzymes along with vitamin D and melatonin, and I think that's it on the recommendation. If I recall, I'd have to pull it up to look at it.
Okay.
But yes, we can certainly help people with these symptoms. Of course, EDTA chelation therapy will improve your microcirculation and any possible tiny microclotting that has occurred, which created the oxidative stress to the tissues there that have broken down the cells and created dust and debris that are sending signals to the nerve endings that are saying something's wrong here. So lots of water, take systemic enzymes on an empty stomach twice a day, consider chelation therapy, find a doctor that will give you ivermectin at the appropriate dose, which is roughly 12 to 15 milligrams a day for 5 days, and then you take 12 or 15 milligrams twice a week for another week, and then once a week for another week or two until you see your doctor. Along with melatonin, they encourage about 6 milligrams of melatonin. Vitamin D, they recommend about 4,000 international units. I would recommend minimum 5,000 with K2, and so forth.
Okay. Great. Next question that was emailed into us comes from Gabriella. And Gabriella asked, my daughter is going to have a baby pretty soon, and we don't know if she's going to have a C-section or natural birth. If the doctors have to do a C-section, what do you recommend if she's given antibiotics? She would be given antibiotics. I'm thinking about breastfeeding the baby and for her to heal without complications. What would be your advice?
Well, I would certainly say drink enough water. Now, I know I sound like a broken record, but you've got to drink enough water, and Americans in general don't drink enough water. And that's going to open up the tiny capillaries, which will bring the repair for the cut if a C-section is done. That'll take away the inflammation, so the scarring will be diminished. Systemic enzymes after the C-section can be taken following surgery, and I would use 5 twice a day on an empty stomach, first thing in the morning, last thing before you go to bed at night, or at least have your stomach about 3 or 4 hours empty before you take your systemic enzymes. The other thing is I would take Juice Plus, the best antioxidant and nutritive enhancement for the baby and mother, for healing, for all the oxidative damage and stress carrying the baby does, and all the oxidative damage and stress the surgery did. And then I would probably tell her to eat a robust protein and fat-rich diet, because you're made of protein and fat. So meat, fish, chicken, turkey, shrimp, lobster, crab, pork, eggs, all these things would be valuable. Raw, organic dairy products, cheeses, to help rebuild her. And I would have her definitely on a vitamin D with K2. And I would have her on a very good multivitamin mineral like our TLC Energy Core or Miter Core. And then I put everyone just about on 1 iodine tablet a day for a multitude of reasons. I would refer you to the book by David Brownstein called Iodine. And the impact on health and mental acuity would be very, very good. It'll also help the baby's breast milk, and the baby will have a better brain development and IQ. I would also recommend our doctor's Great Bar, our doctor's nutrition, make up the cell membranes for healing.
Right. And how about if mom can, after giving birth, getting an IV, like an immune drip?
Yeah, absolutely. We know vitamin C helps with the adhesion of the elastin collagen molecules. And most Americans don't have enough vitamin C. I'm sitting here, 40 nutrient profiles coming back on young, healthy people, and I see 4, 6 deficiencies, 7 to 11 borderline deficiencies. Vitamin C shows up a lot.
And we do notice in the animal kingdom, humans being one of the few mammals that don't make our own vitamin C, that when an animal is wounded or injured, their vitamin C production goes up. So there seems to be a correlation between healing, tissue damage, and vitamin C.
Absolutely. But then again, Juice Plus also would be a help there. No, I definitely am seeing younger people today not as healthy as younger people I saw 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Time here for maybe another question. Nadine asked in an email, I'm suffering with entire body inflammation, but especially in my left knee and right elbow. I have seen functional medicine doctors in the past, and one says it's adrenal insufficiency or fatigue, the other says gut issues. I'm leaning more towards believing it's a gut issue. I suffered from an eating disorder for a couple of years and have not been the same since. I would love the opportunity to be seen by you, but in the meantime, what do you recommend I do for the inflammation? I've ran numerous tests, including many food allergy tests, that have been somewhat consistent actually. What to do?
Well, probably the best advice I could give anyone, since we're made of protein, fat, water, and minerals, is that she move as closely to a carnivore diet. That'll get all the food allergy lectins out, all the oxalates, the phytates, the tannins, the lectins. If you go on a carnivore diet where you get all the plant foods out of your life, you'll immediately stop inflaming yourself. Plus, those foods are what make up the lining, of the cell membrane, all the phospholipids and fats to repair yourself. Plus, it would be low carb, so all the clogging of the capillaries would be enhanced. Again, if you're hurting, you have to have a lot of water.
Yep.
Half your weight as pounds as ounces every day. And then the enzymes, the same systemic enzymes. I mean, if you go to a mechanic for your car, he's going to talk about systems. He's going to talk about the oil. He's going to talk about the coolant. He's going to talk about the greasing of the joints or whatever goes on. And so I feel like I'm a broken record bringing up the same things that heal people. But that's exactly what you need to do, is do these systems and bring them all together. The food industry, mega industrialized farming, is raping the land of the nutrient quality of our food and just mass producing it. Plus, it is creating glyphosates and genetic modifications. Plus, it's turning them into long shelf life hydrogenated processed foods. And so we are becoming weak. Our cell membranes, it's like having a roof on your house that has shingles that are 50 years old. They're not going to protect from the beating of the sun and the rain and the winds and hail. So our young people are not made of enough phospholipids. Their brains are not made of enough of it. And so if you want to heal, you've got to bring these basics in. Now, I don't represent myself to be a specialist. What I represent myself as is to integrate and get the basics while we're consulting your specialist, okay? Because these basics are never addressed, it appears today. So that's what I would encourage her to do. And then if she needs digestive enzymes to handle the increased fat and protein, then she needs to use digestive enzymes to do it.
Right.
But
and if it is gut inflammation, is where it's starting.
It is.
Certainly, by going on you recommend a carnivore diet, or the next step up from that would be your simple rotational diet, where
paleo.
Right. Well, yeah, it is by default paleo, but you're simplifying your menu, and this is what you've recommended for years for your patients.
Right.
Pick one vegetable for the day, one protein for the day, have some lettuce. Don't use a lot of ingredients or seasoning, and then eat that for 24 hours and then switch the next day.
Yeah.
So by limiting the information coming in, you're lessening the chances of that inflammatory response and your body putting a tax on your immune system to identify friend or foe. Glutamine, wouldn't some glutamine be good for the gut as well too, to reduce inflammation? NT factor you mentioned.
Yes. So we have broken these things down into saleable nutraceuticals.
Right.
So the phospholipids that make up the cell membrane are in a product that I've researched and published on called NT factor. And you can take a scoop of that and put it in water. You can take L-glutamine, which is a amino acid complex, and you can put that into the water as well. So, or you can eat the stuff. So I'm trying to save people money.
Right. Okay. Nadine, I hope that helps if you're watching today. It is 10:16. Look at that. We are just about out of time, and it looks like we got to all the questions in the live chat today and got a few of the email questions in knocked off as well too. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for your time. I want to let you know that Dr. Ellithorpe has added on a new weekly session that she's doing here Monday nights. She's on her own. It's similar. It's a longer session. She's here typically for about an hour, and she's just looking at the questions coming in just on the chat and answering those. So it's a little bit more time, a little bit more in depth. So join us here on Mondays as well now at 5:30 p.m. That's a Pacific time. And then we're here, and we've been here for many months now, every Wednesday morning at 9:45 a.m. Pacific. If you found any value out of today's video, do us a favor and hit that like button. That really helps with our channel and spreading the news. Share this channel with your friends and family as well too. And if you haven't already, you can subscribe. And that way, as new videos come in, you will be notified and you can see what you've seen and what you haven't seen.
Very good. God bless. Stay well.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next on Monday at 5:30 p.m. And then we'll see you here again next week, Wednesday at 9:45 a.m. Pacific. All right, everybody. Be well. God bless.